Wow.
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 Wow. That's all we can say. We just coming off fresh off of it. Just watched the post game interviews and whatnot. Um, the Bucks obviously beat the Suns in a great game, by the way. Up until the end of the fourth, it was a spectacular game. Um,
Facts.
yeah. So I
Do you
mean,
want to expand upon that? You can't just drop that, Obi. Expand
I
upon that. The end of the fourth. Why was it not a great game to you?
um, I'll just jump into. I'll just jump
Yeah,
in.
go
So
ahead. We don't got no rules over here. We not gonna lie. Don't lie,
okay,
Obi. Let us
listen.
know how you feel. Tell them how you really feel.
NGL.
I'm gonna start with the positives, and then I'll come to the negatives. Let's start with Giannis, the foo eater, Nigerian, Nigerian stand up.
Talk about it.
Listen, man, that dude hooped. He hooped. He came out, missed 2 free throws. He was like 16 for 8. I don't even remember. He was like 16 for 18 or something like that.
Nah, I think
50
you hit it on the
piece.
head. I think that might be it.
50 piece
Or
in the
17 for 19.
NBA Finals closeout game.
50 piece. Hold on, let me reverse it.
50-piece
50
nuggets. They don't
piece.
even sell that anymore. Like,
You
50-piece
can't get
nuggets.
that at Wendy's.
You can't get that in McDonald's nowhere. Listen, shout out to Bobby Portis.
Former Nick. Former Nick.
Boy was like this, hooping.
Wait, hold on,
Boy,
Obi. I don't know what Chris Paul was thinking. He must have not read the news on Bobby Porter. He must have
Yo.
wanted his jaw broken or something. Because he
Bobby
was,
was like,
but Bobby
Wide-eyed,
was, but
wide-eyed
Obi,
assassin.
yo, Obi, Bobby was laughing at him like, you know, I break jaws, right? Like this is what I do.
Yo, shout out to Bobby, son. Shout out to Bobby, man. He was hooping. I don't even know, like,
Played the game of his
and
life, man.
yeah, and I was talking to my brother about, during the game about, like he was saying how Booker in the clutch is suspect sometimes. He wasn't questioning his
Mm.
talent. He was just sometimes in the clutch. And I was like, well, and he was like, well, meanwhile, Chris Middleton is clutch. And I was like, well, you gotta understand, if Middleton's not having a good game, he'll just chill out. He'll understand, like, okay, I got a team around me. I got some hoopers around me. I can relax. It's not my night. And then I'll reserve my energy to close out when Giannis has deficiencies. Sometimes. So and then just like clockwork, Middleton hit 2 big shots down the stretch. You know what I mean? Like, and pretty much put him away when every time they try to come back. And Middleton, he played like doo doo all game. Uh, like poo. Who else? Drew played like poo too. The only one that really came up big was Portis and 50 piece. Like, we gonna call him 50 piece from that. I'm gonna call him 50 piece from
Ah,
that on.
man.
Like, we not gonna like say he's not that dude right now. Like, I've cut on Giannis too. You know what I mean? Like, but I've also gave him his flowers when he needed it. And I'm gonna give it to him right now. Giannis, you are right now a top 5 player in the NBA. And that doesn't come lightly from me. So I'm gonna give you that. You're a top 5 player right now. Yeah, I'm gonna let y'all talk on it. Just shout out to Giannis for doing what he did. And before we go on, Budenholzer, I don't know what you was doing with those timeouts at the end of the game. It worked out, but yo, you was taking way too many. Like, you had the foots on their necks, and then you just kept taking those timeouts. Just like, oh yeah, I know they was exhausted, but you had
I
them
thought
right
he
where
was
you
literally
wanted.
just giving Giannis a rest. That's what
Yeah, he
I
was giving
thought. I
them,
thought he
but
felt like he needed a couple seconds, even though he
he
probably
took one
didn't.
at like three. He took one at like 3 minutes and 50 seconds, and he took another one like 3 minutes.
Yeah,
Like, I know he was
you're
giving him
right. You're
rest,
right.
but it's like you had him right where you wanted. I just didn't. I mean, listen, it worked. He's a champion, and a lot of people have been like killing Bud all year for his decision. So listen, you're the champion. So don't take don't take ideas from me. You got it. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, you
Who's
got
up
this one.
next?
Um. So I want to start with I did not pick the Milwaukee Bucks to win this series,
I did.
but
You knew Obi was not
I got,
making it
got
through
my,
this
got my
episode
Milwaukee green on right now.
without acknowledging the fact that he picked them to win.
but it's not like anyone that did pick the Bucks, was making some type of crazy, outrageous, pick, based on the rosters, based on how things were supposed to play out. It looked, and I mentioned this a few times over the last few episodes. Um, there were adjustments for Milwaukee to make, right? And we talked about there being adjustments for them to make to be able to possibly turn the series around. The adjustments that the adjustments that needed to be made by Phoenix, you know, they couldn't get taller, they couldn't get tougher, they couldn't get, and so and what became glaring, and I think maybe you alluded to it, Obi, in the last episode. I'm not positive, but was Phoenix played well. No, it was you, Bentley. Phoenix played well. It's like, and they lost. It wasn't like they got ran out the joint. It wasn't like they laid an egg. It wasn't like the guys that they needed to show up didn't show up. They got contributions from their role players. CP3, turned into 20 and 10 night. There's some things that maybe don't show up in the stat line, that I think Chris could have done better. But the 20 and 10 was there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it still wasn't enough. So that's what was leading me to believe after the fact, that um there were no chess moves left to make, and that's what you saw a lot in this game 6. And it was a very, very good game, like Obi said, through 3 quarters. And it had the feel of a vintage finals closeout game, in terms of the intensity, in terms of the amount of physicality, how low scoring it was to begin with. It felt like, a real finals game. And all of those things that I said play to the advantage of the Milwaukee Bucks, like playing that kind of a smash mouth game, playing that kind of a low scoring, mucking it up, so to speak, um, played to the advantage of Milwaukee, and they just continued to do their thing. um, Let me give Giannis some props, for locking in at the free throw line like we haven't seen him do, um, throughout the entire playoffs. And I'm not gonna say that was the reason they won, but it just kind of gave, and maybe it was just me, but as I was watching the game and as he got to 14 for 15, 15 for 16, whatever the case may be, it gave you a sense of like, okay, there's not any Phoenix is not going to be able to close the gap. You know what I mean? Because no matter what continues to happen down the stretch, with him hitting these free throws, you're not going to keep him off the line. You know what I mean? So it didn't see, it just looked like it was one of those other telling things that was like, okay, just another footnote of a reason why it doesn't matter what you guys do, you're not going to be able to get this done. So it was way more about what Milwaukee did do, instead of what Phoenix did not do. But uh I got to be fair, and the Phoenix Suns did not do themselves any favors in the last 2 games in terms of the way they protect the ball, uh, in terms of hitting shots. DeAndre Ayton couldn't miss in the paint, and then in this
Ooh.
game,
Next
and then,
round.
yeah,
He
yeah,
was
you're
four
right.
for.
You're right.
He
I'm
was four.
blaming. Am I
He was
blaming
four.
already? I'm not
Yeah,
blaming.
you
I'm
blame
not blaming.
already.
I'm not blaming. I'm not blaming.
All right, all
He
right,
was
all right.
he was 4 for 12.
Yeah, so they didn't even, I already said that if they did everything right and Milwaukee did everything right, that Milwaukee would probably win. And Phoenix did not even do everything right, tonight. So I was not surprised with the outcome, although it was competitive. There were several times throughout the night that I'm like, oh, we can jump on, we can start the pod now. This thing is over. But it was amazing to see Giannis get 50. It was disappointing to see CP get there but not get it done. But overall, everything that went on in the playoffs, I was still pleasantly surprised with how competitive and how entertaining of a finals we got, considering the circumstances.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you, Earl, on who did what and who didn't adjust, and I'm gonna expand upon it a little bit. I feel that the Bucks made way better coaching adjustments than the Suns. Uh, even if you start at like the beginning point A, like Bucks were coming down. I'm watching the game, and I'm not the most basketball aficionado, but I'm noticing. I'm looking at Giannis is running point guard, and he was killing Aiton on the ISO. I felt like I was watching a NBA 2K game because there's 5 outs, everybody around the perimeter, and Giannis is just taking Aiton 1-on-1 to the rack, 1-on-1 to the rack, and I'm like, damn. In the previous games, if my memory may be incorrect, but I recall, Crowder was on him, but Giannis was doing whatever he wanted with Aiton, and it looked really crazy. And Aiton really showed his youthfulness. And I know Obi has gotten on him in the past, saying he needs to step it up. And I gotta give Obi his props because Aiton was looking like a fish out of water when Giannis was cooking him at the top of the key, and I was mad at the Bucks because I'm like, all right, y'all got the formula. Y'all, like, this is it. Game's over. I said game was over in like the second quarter. I'm like, y'all, if y'all gonna let Giannis do this game is a wrap because he is cooking Aiton. And Aiton looking for help everywhere on the court. Somewhere, send Jesus. He couldn't do nothing. And it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And I just felt that Monty wasn't making the correct adjustments. And Bud, even after Monty adjusted to the 5 outs, it still didn't matter. They were getting buckets in other ways. I feel that the formula was just so simple for the Bucks, and they executed perfectly. I got to tip my hat off to Bud because the Phoenix Suns didn't make enough adjustments. Like, even after they stopped the ISO at the top of the key, they were letting other stuff happen. Giannis has started dishing to the corners. Fortunately for the Suns, the Bucks shot terrible at the beginning of the game from 3. Because this should have been a 20 plus point blowout, in my opinion. And the Bucks, because
Bucks had a terrible second quarter,
like they let them back in the game, and I'm at halftime like, how the hell the Suns got the lead? Like y'all was getting cooked. Chris Paul was playing terrible at the beginning of the game, and when they had the lead at half, I was like, nah, this doesn't make any sense. I'm watching the game, and my eyes aren't understanding why the Bucks aren't putting them in the coffin. I'm like, this game should have been done way long ago, but they let them back in the game, and then Bud, I guess he woke up, made more adjustments, and then Giannis was unstoppable again. He ended up with 50 points, and I got to tip my hat off to him. He backed it up. We got NBA players around the league saying he has no skill. Yeah, it takes skill to win a championship. I don't care what you tell me, and he did that. So I'm not a Giannis fan, but I gotta give respect where respect is due.
So is it blame time?
It's definitely blame time.
Let's play.
It's definitely blame time. Go ahead, Obi, do your thing.
Let's play the blame.
Spotlight.
CP0.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Christopher Paul. Listen, you played well in that game. I understand. Like it hurts me. It doesn't really hurt me to do this, but I will say this.
So you lied.
Not gonna lie.
There you go. I just wanted you to say it. Go ahead.
Not gonna lie. This series came down to you blowing game 4. Just keep it a stack. Just keep it a stack. Your career, your legacy will come down to that game 4, unless you win another chip, unless you go team up with somebody like LeBron or something like that. That game 4, what you did in that game, you guys would have been up 3-1. Everybody was hooping but you. And then you turned it over, you tripped and whatnot. People are gonna remember, we might remember Booker. Booker, you got next. I'm coming for you too. But we might remember Booker had
got a hit list.
A game 5 and he got ripped or whatever. But at least Booker had 40 in that game. CP's terrible game when he had 5 turnovers and tripped at the end of the game when he could have won it. That will go down, that will define his legacy. And I know there's a lot of CP friends of
Whew.
mine, CP lovers that are gonna kill me for this. That's why I waited to halfway through the episode. So you already stuck. You already eating your food. You can't even change the channel right now. CP blew this series. He should have a championship ring right now. Y'all would have been up 3-1. So CP, and let me go back down for the rest of it. All right. So Booker, you're young. You're still young. You know what I mean? This one hurts. This is like, when KD lost his, this is like, a couple other young guys lost theirs. It happens, you got to hit this off season, and I'm not saying you don't put in the work, because you always did, but you got to continue working. You saw what Chris Paul did. Even if he leaves, you saw what Chris Paul did for your team. He revamped that team. He instilled a winning mentality for your team. So therefore you gotta take that and you gotta do that from now on, because Chris Paul is like 40 years old, so who knows what's gonna happen. And he showed you what it takes to make it there, and now you gotta implement that every day in the rest of your team and continue with striving for greatness, like Kobe said, and you're good to go, man. Ayton, you had a heck of a playoff run. It's I don't want to sound like a hater, so I'm not
hold on, Obi. Before you give your Aiden take, I think you need to revisit what your stance was on Aiden.
So I actually took back my stance on Ayton, because I said he's a bust, or I said he's a low level bust, not a high level bust like Wiggins and all that stuff. Just there was bust in there because he doesn't have, or so far, because he was drafted higher than Luka, he was drafted higher than Trey, and
good.
That's
point.
a fact. That's a great way to lead.
He doesn't create his own shot. So if the Suns aren't hooping, if Chris Paul's not creating, like if Chris Paul's not commanding a double team, or if Booker's not beating somebody off the dribble, Ayton can't score on good defense. He has no moves. He has maybe a post hook once in a while, but that's it. So that was what I was saying. He hasn't shown that. He's just been essentially in the paint. He's just been like a DeAndre, Jordan type sometimes, 68% from the field, but he's shown a little bit better than that. So I got off of that because he's been different. He showed his versatility and he was worthy of a number one pick, just not above those two guys. Like if it was the Oladipo draft that year, he would have been the perfect number one pick. So I took it back and I don't want to go on that. But Ayton, you're a young man. You need to go to the gym and work on your game. Like you can't be your buckets can't be predicated on other people's success. You need to get there, and when the shot clock is going down, people need to be able to pass you the ball, and you need to be able to score on somebody like Giannis and score on somebody like Brook Lopez. And you weren't able to do that series. If you were, look how when they needed you in Game 6, you were nowhere to be found. You played your worst game because Chris Paul couldn't help you and Booker couldn't help you, and you were trying to make something out of nothing, and it was nothing. So that's my blame game. And Monty, I don't give you any blame for it because I think Chris Paul really was the coach of that season. And shout out to Chris Paul, real talk. He really changed that whole team around. And like I do joke on him and I keep it a stack with him, but he really changed the whole team around. And his legacy will say that, like, he will be the fixer-upper guy, that the hire to change your whole franchise around. So,
okay.
Oh, and I blame y'all for not going to Cam Johnson more because that boy is built. I didn't know he had it in him like that. He was hooping that whole series.
Yeah, he was.
So who do you blame for that? Because you said you don't give Monty any.
No, I'm joking, bro. I'm joking. You can't go through
Cam
Johnson.
Yeah,
no. But I mean, I definitely felt like not necessarily in that closeout game, but in the game before, he could have used a few more. He could have used a few more touches, a few more minutes, whatever you want to call it. But
he's a shooter. They get the ball to him, he shoots. It's not like they can't really like game plan for that. It's when he's open, he shoots.
So did they? So I guess my question
he's in the corner. He's corner sitting over with corner specialists.
And he was hitting him though. He was hitting him. Like,
that's my thing.
Yeah, but I mean,
so my question is before I even go into my blames is So did they not get him? Did CP and whoever was on the floor not get him the ball enough, or did like were they just not giving it to him when he was open, or did Monty not have him out there enough? That's kind of what I'm saying. Just
I
specifically
give Monty
with Johnson.
zero blame. If Chris Paul didn't blow game 4 and Booker didn't blow game 5, they won that chip. The series should be over. So I don't
Okay.
know how else. All the adjustments are just like we can. It's Monday morning quarterback, like like in my opinion. So if you're asking me,
Gotcha.
I can't give
I
Monty
got you.
any blame.
Okay, cool. I don't disagree with that. I'm gonna give him some though. I mean, I don't disagree that I don't that but so I'll put it in order. I'm gonna definitely so in these situations, whoever was going to get the most credit, right? If you got it done, right? Whoever was gonna get the most credit has to get the most blame. So CP, come on down to the front of the congregation. That's first and foremost. Um, so this series was on a platter for these guys to win, and maybe platter strong, but it was there for the taking. And as much as I want to disagree with all of the takes that Obi made, he's 100% spot on with that game 4, man. And I think we even alluded to it. I'm pretty sure we probably brought it up. It's like, yo, bro, everybody else did what they needed to do in that game. You needed to go up 3-1. Why did you need to go up 3-1? Because everybody knew that you guys were playing a little bit above what was on paper. You know what I mean? Like, and so when you hit a bully, you got you when you hit a bully, you got to keep them down. Like, and they did not do that. They hit first, but they didn't knock them out. And once Milwaukee got their bearings, that was it, and it looked like a meltdown. You know what I mean? And so when a team melts down, the a lot of the blame goes to whoever is at the head of the snake in terms of mentality, in terms of, poise, right? These are all the things that if they did right, we would have been giving CP props for, right? We would have been calling him the point guard. We would have been talking about, oh, he's the quintessential leader. Oh, look what he got out of Aiton. Look what he got out of these guys. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Wait.
You're 100%
Sorry to
correct.
cut you off. The Suns didn't win the chip. Wait, didn't they have a parade? did they have a parade at the Western Conference Finals? That wasn't the chip.
Let my man CP celebrate.
Oh, my fault.
His best accolade.
Was like Aiton dancing in the streets and I thought they had a parade.
Besides that, I'll keep running down the list. After that, I'm definitely, Devin Booker, although I agree with all your sentiments about him working and continuing to work and them being they were probably a little bit ahead of schedule. I'm gonna be honest. It was probably a little bit ahead of schedule for him to be, in the finals, performing the way he was with the potential opportunity to win a championship. They were probably a little bit ahead of time. So I'm saying for him personally, so I'm not gonna totally kill him. But again, if they would have pulled it out, right? We would have been talking about how amazing he was and the 40-point games. I mean, he did have 10 points in the game prior to that. In this game and throughout the second half of this series, they pushed him around. So I think, and what I mean by pushed him around is that they didn't allow him to get to his spots, specifically on that play where we talked about he should have backed it out, right? What happened? He felt contact, wasn't able to move anybody, and now it's like, oh, let me head fake, turn, and try to. And there were way too many instances towards the second half of this series where his progress was just being impeded. Where he just couldn't get his leverage. Way too many off balance shots. You know what I mean? And so, not saying that he wasn't making a lot of these shots, but I think. This is just me, I mean, I don't, I'm not in the NBA. I'm not, I'm not a personal trainer on a professional level or anything like that. But it looks to me like he needs to start focusing in on that core strength, kind of a la the way Jordan had to go get stronger before, when the Pistons and these guys were pushing him around. That's kind of what it made me feel like. the last thing that I'll say in terms of the blame, it's hard for me to say that this affects CP's legacy because we had already said that his legacy was cemented, right? We had already said that making it to the finals was kind of it, in terms of the point guards and miniature undersized guys that have had to do it as the best player on their team. So I don't want to take that away, but 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 in the moment, right? So tomorrow I won't take it away. Tomorrow I'll be like, I'll say he's still, he did whatever he did. I'll appreciate the accomplishment. But in the moment, over these last few games and having been up 2-0, knowing how long it took to get here and not being able to possibly not have an opportunity to do it again, CP, you laid an egg, man. You laid an egg. You laid an egg. You laid an egg. There's no way around it, So I don't want to think, and then I'm gonna pass it off before. I don't know if we're gonna I'll pass it off for Bentley to give his blames. I don't think that I like using the term blame when I'm talking about Phoenix at all, because Milwaukee was better than them. Like Milwaukee was better than them. When Phoenix went up 2-0, that's when we started to, that's when we started to feel like, oh, okay, they're gonna win this thing, or they have a possibility to win this thing. When Dallas blew a 2-0 lead to Miami, I don't remember everybody, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'll pass it off. I don't remember everybody saying, "Oh my gosh, Dallas blew it." You know what I mean? Like this is gonna destroy Dirk's legacy. Why? Because Miami was better. Like we expected them to win, and so when they came in and I think they 4-0'd them gentlemen sweep, which literally was the same way, right? Lost the first two and then won 4 in a row.
Talking about 06?
Yeah, with Shaq and Wade. Yeah. We didn't feel that way because we knew Dallas was an inferior team, right? And like I don't remember hearing guys, roasting them and saying they blew it or they choked. And like I said, it was a long time ago, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm having revisionist history.
I had Dallas that year. I don't know.
Okay.
I had Dallas
Well, all right. But that's where I'll
leave it.
That's where I'll leave it. That's where I'll leave it.
Wade went insane that series. That's what it just changed everything. So it was like,
I mean, but before the series started, looking at Shaq and Wade versus Dirk and who was the second best player on that team?
Devin Harris. I think he was an all-star.
I think most people believed that Miami was going to win, and then when
I could be wrong on him being an all-star, but I remember Devin Harris having a really good year at point guard. It wasn't him.
I legit asked. Like I don't know who it was.
That's what Google was for.
Did they have Jason Terry at the time too? No. Oh, damn. I just remember I was a big Nash and Dirk fan, and then Nash just left, and I still stayed with.
What year was it?
06. 06, we saying, right?
They might. Damn. I know they. Oh, I remember the years between that, like when they had like.
I'm looking at a random box score, Walker. And Devin Harris was definitely on the team.
No, I know, but no way he was the second best player.
I got these are players that scored in this is game 4. Got Devin Harris, Desanya Diop. That was his name, right?
Yeah,
he was
Desanya Diop. Desanya Diop.
Diop. I call him Diop. I don't remember what he was a cheat code in 2K.
Oh, I got it. It's either Terry or Stackhouse.
Okay.
Yeah, so Terry was there. Okay.
So Jason Terry was there. Okay.
Yeah.
But still, not to go way off the reservation. My only point was just that, most people believed Miami was better and was going to win that series. Maybe after Dallas went up 2-0, you were like, oh shoot, what's going on here? And I feel like that's similarly the way this series played out.
Copy. So as far as my takes, as far as who blew it, I gotta stick by my earlier assessment, and I feel that the Suns blew it. I'm sorry. Being up 2-0, the only excuse I can make for the Bucks is the fact that maybe they strategized or falsely, which they shouldn't have done, around Giannis being hurt. And I know I've said this at least 80 podcasts in a row, but he wasn't hurt. The man just had 50 tonight in the closeout game. He recovered if he was hurt, like completely off that foo-foo. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. So
Farina.
that was his Zenzu beam from Dragon Ball Z, and he took that and he recovered
Sensu.
fully to go get himself a freaking championship. But if that aside, injuries aside, no excuses about injuries. I hate doing that, to be honest. Not Giannis. And I gotta put it. I gotta put it on Devin Booker. I'm sorry. I know it's natural to blame Chris Paul, but I think and it's no fault of his, to be honest. I don't. Has he made the playoffs in his career? Can somebody answer
this
that?
was his first playoffs. This was his first playoffs. This was his first playoffs.
So it's his first playoff game. He's under 25.
Yes.
He's a young
I
dude.
think he's 25.
He's a young dude. He's the leading scorer on his team in the NBA Finals. That's a lot of pressure. And I'm going to keep it real. I felt a lot of LeBron deflection vibes. Like was it first year in Miami when they lost to Dallas? Maybe 2011.
I mean, they lost the first year in Miami. They didn't lose to Dallas.
Yeah, that's the vibe I got from Devin Booker. Even though obviously LeBron was way more seasoned than him, I still felt like team looking at like, bro, go win this game. And it's like, nah, I'm not like I'm there, but I'm not there. I was getting those because when LeBron was passing, deflecting his first year in Miami, I'm like, bro, go win the championship. Like, what are you doing? You're the best player in the league. And that's the frustration I started to feel with him, but then I had to check myself, like, he's not as good as LeBron. Bring it back. Like, stop putting that type of expectation on him. I had to reel myself back. And maybe I bought into the Twitter, social media hype after they was up 2-0. This is the next Kobe. This Kobe reincarnated. And I'm like, they were OD'd with the Booker Kobe comparisons. Everyone. And I'm like, I never fully bought into it, but as a casual fan with no skin in the game, I didn't bet on the game. I didn't have a favorite. The most skin in the game I had was me going something forward because some dude beat up some other dude in Phoenix. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the most skin in my game. It was popular. Whatever, roll with it. I ain't got no skin in the game. I'm going something forward. I'm gonna do the same thing. But from a more analyst perspective, I'm like, bro, you should have won this game. Like I shot like 8 for 22. That's like damn near 30%. I'm like, bro, like you're not ready for the spotlight. That's what it is. Just like Ayton wasn't ready for the spotlight, he's getting cooked in ISO. I feel that these dudes are amazing talents. I'm not taking anything away from them, but NBA Finals in your first couple years in the league, I'm like, ugh. It's a different beast. It's a different beast, and people always check me as a Knicks fan, like even before the playoffs, even though we got cooked by a freaking third-year player, but that's irrelevant. The playoffs is different. Playoffs is different. And I'm like, shut up. And then, regardless of who they got beat by, Julius Randle, the playoffs is fucking different.
The playoffs are very different for him. Yeah, absolutely.
So I will have to say though, I think LeBron wasn't deflecting. I think he was just choking in that series. Which had to, everything had to come to him at the same time. Like Ben Simmons, for example. Like if that had happened now, he would be like the laughing stock of this offseason, like Ben Simmons, right? Because he was just so nervous in the situation. Everyone was like, oh, they hated on him, and he's like, oh, all these haters, everyone's like, oh, he made the decision to go there, and everything just came to it, and just like it was just too much pressure for him. And after that, LeBron became a man. Like he became
that expected success pressure that I've alluded to, on the pod. You know what I mean? Like where everyone in the world is expecting you to win, but also hoping if the opportunity presents itself that you fall on your face.
They can cook you.
Yeah.
about that. Like they can roast you. So
So in
and
those moments, how can you
yeah,
handle it?
but we do. People don't realize that the Mavs had like an amazing zone, like, and they were
Mm-hmm.
like building a wall around LeBron while we weren't seeing it. But at the end of the day, he's
X's and
still
O's don't make their way
LeBron.
into the narrative, right? Right, Obi,
Yeah,
right? Like,
it's not gonna make it into. It's still LeBron. So like we did, like he choked. He had like 2 points every fourth quarter. So, but one thing I'll say about Booker is he was up and down like a young player. Is like I mean he had 40-point games, like two in the NBA Finals. One thing we have to do is account for inflation though. And I stole that from my brother, but like we do have to account for inflation. Like anybody
I
dropping
like
40 right
that. I
now.
like that term, inflation.
Yeah,
I
no,
like that. I
for
like
real.
that. When
So
it comes to statistics, my bad, Obi, but even with like the NBA expanding to 17 games, I told me and you talked about this. Like you like
NFL, yeah,
more football is better. I don't care. Like more football is
yeah,
better. You're 100% correct that more football is better. But being a nerd of NFL stats, I'm like every record is gonna get broken now. So I'm
yeah,
like,
and
oh,
that's the
I'm
3 point
old man
line.
on the porch, like you know what
That's
I'm
the 3 point line. Like with them,
saying?
like
Yo,
turning that corner three into like something special, and everyone just shooting threes. Like that's the 17th game. That's the equivalent. Like what's gonna happen in the stats are just gonna be thrown out the window. Um, but yeah, so to wrap all that up, the landscape of the NBA, you know, what does this mean for the NBA? And anyone can take it anywhere. I'll start it off. I'll say that it's gonna be a long, like now that Giannis has his confidence, because that takes the chip off his shoulder. Like getting that takes the chip off his shoulder, right? I honestly, and people might think I'm crazy for saying this, but I honestly think Giannis was holding back last season. He didn't want to win another MVP. It would put way too much pressure on him to go 3 years in a row winning MVP just by the regular season stat numbers, and then come into the playoffs and then get swept. Like what happened to not swept. They lost in like 5 or 6 to the Heat, right? So like he didn't want that added pressure, and he kept saying, don't call me an MVP until I win the finals, until I'm finals MVP. So I'm telling you now,
it was also incredibly embarrassing him collecting his MVP trophy
yeah,
from his
yeah,
couch. So I
yeah,
think he knew, to your
yeah.
point.
Yeah, no, facts. And the media didn't want to give it to him either because it was just embarrassing for everybody. Everybody was embarrassed in the situation. Like he wasn't even in the conversation. And
Yeah,
if
it
you
was a
look at
bad
his
look.
numbers, if you look at his
Should
numbers
have
for
been.
this past season,
Mhm.
ridiculous. And they ended up being the 3 seed, but like Jokic was the 5th seed. Jokic has some great numbers too, but the fact that he wasn't even in the conversation is let you know. Like, but Nick next year, I mean, you might as well just give him the MVP now, right? Like, and it's the only people that can stop him is the Nets. If we get rid of Joe Harris, I better never see him in my town again.
yo,
um,
you're gonna get an email from his pops
his
one
attorney
day.
and his
I
pop.
promise you.
Nah, I already apologized to his pops. No way he knew his son wasn't built like that. Um, So, landscape of the NBA. I also think, um, who knows what's gonna happen with CP. I'm gonna let Earl talk on that because I believe I'm still stunned on that. So, and that's it. I'll just go on that. I'll just go on. The NBA is shaking up now because Giannis is gonna show his true cat. Like he's gonna unleash next season,
If the
and
Nets
it's
are
gonna
healthy, if the Nets are healthy next season, are they meeting Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals, and who wins?
the Nets win. I mean, the Nets
Do
win,
they
and
both
it's
get
like
there next year? Obviously, this means if healthy.
the
I'm gonna
Nets
need
just
you to
have to
give
be
that
healthy.
caveat.
It's just I don't think it's even close, to be honest. Like I think
I agree.
it's close because of defenders, but with an off season for the Nets to grab players that can actually do stuff like that, because mid season when you make a trade like that, they gave up everything. Just like yo, we gotta get harder no matter what.
Yeah, there you
Which,
go. There's
which
the deciding factor. Now they got time to try and
yeah,
there you go. Now they got time
things
to try and
around and
really
do
fill it
things.
out the right way.
And they might just sign Dinwiddie and let go and move Joe Harris for like something
We
like
got our
that. So
eyes on Spencer. We got our eyes on Spencer. But that's so I'll just jump on that, right? So it's me,
go ahead.
landscape of the NBA. I think that first and foremost, it'll be very difficult for Milwaukee to repeat. Um,
Hmm.
and that isn't any that's not any knock on them at all. and I'm not going to try to steal their thunder tonight and talk about all of the got who was here and who wasn't. I'll just say that I would not be shocked. Not gonna lie, I would not be shocked if this turned into a Kawhi Toronto chip for Giannis without the departure. Like so. Um, I could see that. Where the stars kind of aligned perfectly for Kawhi and Toronto that season. He then decided to move on. But I don't think that chances are he probably wouldn't have won the championship again if had he stayed. So that's that with Milwaukee and the Eastern Conference. I think that Dame Lillard is going to Philly. And that will, if that happens, that is a nuclear bomb in the Eastern Conference. I'm not saying it means they're going to win the chip. I'm not saying that, but it makes things very, very dicey, for all parties involved.
It is one of the smarter trades that, and I again, the Celtics for Jaylen Brown. But then one thing I will say that throws a little bit of monkey wrench into this whole thing is Dame Lillard being as competitive as he is, watching Giannis win that championship and
deciding to stay.
Oh, that's a hard one to.
Bravo. That's a great point. Yeah. And but possible.
He has to remember he's 31 though, so it's a different thing. He's 6'1", he's 6'3". He has to remember that. So, but he's gonna be being pulled left and right.
To that point, the reason that I think you're so spot on with that is because towards the end of the game tonight, that was part of the reason why I found myself not rooting for Phoenix, right, and not minding that Giannis was getting it done, but also Chris played well, right? I needed that to happen, because Mr. Paul is going to be an unrestricted free agent. And this will be my last little take on the landscape of the NBA. If you want a shot, I'm not saying it guarantees a championship. I'm always realistic with my purple and gold, because someone has to be. Most Laker fans are somewhat delusional. I try to be the one that keeps us on track, and CP could possibly find himself in a Los Angeles Lakers jersey with LeBron James and a healthy Anthony Davis, trying to get one more shot at it with his banana boat buddy, friend since the 8th grade.
I gotta bring Melo. I
want Melo too.
You gotta bring Melo. If you're gonna do it, you gotta bring Melo. Or
bring the whole geriatric squad. Bring the whole geriatric squad. We'll take one last run at it. It'll be like the Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler chip. We'll do it. But in all seriousness, I really think there's some secondary moves that the Lakers could make to put themselves right back in contention if we don't make a crazy bombshell play. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, that's great points, Earl. I just want to add,
if you bring up the Knicks during this, I'm turning off the podcast.
Earl just spoke about the Lakers. Why can't I speak about the Knicks?
We won a championship a year ago.
What does that mean? Are we talking about contenders in the NBA or the landscape?
They were contenders this year. The Knicks
in
were
my
contenders. They were
in my point of view. The landscape of the end of the NBA is from the point of view of the Knicks fan.
Okay? And Frank Ntilikina is back.
Oh my God!
No, go ahead. No, give it to us, Bentley.
What's the landscape, right? That's what you're gonna say.
Obi knows better than that to mention the name Frank.
He triggers you with Frank. He's continues to trigger you with
Frank. He's trying to rile me up. When is his
contract up, son? Yo, he's been on.
He's the oldest rookie in the NBA. Yo, everybody done forgot about Phil. It's like, yo, Phil left. What are you still doing here? It's like having company over and they bring their friend and your man's leaves, but the company stays. It's like, bro, why did you not leave with this dude? You came with him. Why are you still here? And they get comfortable on your couch and lay the blanket out, a pillow. No work tomorrow.
Still got snacks. You still got the snacks.
No, Any more pizza left?
We gonna start another movie. Yeah, we're gonna start another movie.
Yo, any more pizza left? You got another slice? Like, bro, leave, bro. I'm going to bed. I got work in the morning. That's Frank. That's literally Frank.
What do the
His
Knicks
rookie
do?
contracts
What do the
needs to
Knicks
go.
do to keep up with the arms race and everything that's going on in the East? The champion was just crowned in your conference. What, you know what I mean? Like, what do y'all do? What do y'all do?
So we smoked the Bucks in the regular season by 20. You know, like, you know what I'm saying. So we could beat them. That's regular.
That's
You know
where
what
you're
I'm
gonna
saying?
start.
What? That's where I'm
Go
starting.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yo, I saw a tweet. It said, "Yo, if we played the Bucks in December, we would win the championship." I saw that tweet online, bro. Yo, the Bucks was fool for us, bro. Nah. Let me be realistic. All right, all real talk, for real. The Knicks need a point guard. This is my landscape. I don't care what anybody's saying. I'm not looking at no overview. The Knicks need a point guard. Season's over. Free agency open. You feel me? Even though some teams are able to make trades after the trade deadline. But I digress. That's a whole other topic. I never even knew about that rule. this team that's I'm gonna point no elbows.
Wait, you said teams did what after the deadline?
Some teams made trades after the deadline.
Nah, it ain't no trades. They just picked up. What are you talking about? You can't make.
They picked them up. They picked them up off waivers. Who are you talking about? You talking about on the Laker roster?
I'll send you out a tweet after. There's teams that made trades after the deadline because they were eliminated from the playoffs. I'll send it to y'all and I'll revisit it on the next episode. If I make it right, like, I'll admit fault. But there was a trade.
Okay, no, I understand.
During the playoffs,
during the regular season.
Yeah. Well, no. That's into the playoffs after they were eliminated.
After they were eliminated.
Yeah. I mean, it's in you know, like what's a legal term, like in agreement, but it's not binding.
Oh, I got you. It's not official. It's a verbal agreement, not executed yet. I didn't even know you could do that mid-season after the trade deadline. To be honest, that was the first time I ever saw something like that, and it gained a little traction on social media. But anyway, that was just a joke in general. But the Knicks need a point guard. I'm pretty sure. I honestly was rooting for Chris Paul to win, so that maybe he might want to, get an idol statue built in Times Square of himself if he decided to come play, in Manhattan. But I know that those dreams are definitely dashed because
I got $50 million to give him.
I don't think it's about bread. I really don't think it's about bread. And he's from the same cloth as LeBron. These dudes don't care about winning for James Dolan. That's what I'm gonna put it on. I'm gonna blame James. Even though I think Leon Rose and the other guy that's in music, I forget his name all the time. I don't like messing it up because I'm not familiar with Earl.
World West.
Oh, we got
World Wide West.
World Wide West? Okay.
Yeah, so, I always thought they were rapping about Kanye the whole time.
But even on top of World Wide West, I don't want to say Scott Storch. There's somebody else that's in charge of branding, black dude. And they hired him to rebrand the Knicks. I think they did an amazing job.
Yeah, he had the Bulls shorts on.
Oh my God! I remember when you took that.
Are you talking about Chris Stout?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
He had the Bulls shorts on golfing. I'm like, so they tripping. You're supposed to be branded.
Obi took that and killed all the Knicks fans.
Chris Stout went on First Take the first time and started making all types of crazy claims and almost got
yes. Him. He almost got fined for tampering. He was bugging out. But I feel I tip my hat off to the rebranding, the new management, and I'm seeing it on all my teams. I got new ownership on my Mets. I got new leadership on my Jets, and I got new leadership on my Knicks. The Knicks were the first to put into play. My Mets is in first place. Jets is next up. I applaud my teams for doing their due diligence, and I love the Knicks. I love how the Knicks are rebranding. I think that they're making it an attractive free agency destination. I think the energy of the Garden during COVID was crazy. I think other players took notice. You know what I'm saying? And I think that will attract more people. And I like the direction we're headed. And